We are rolling. Okay. The way that I would think about the whole culture unit is I would start with chapter 5 and I think language. I'd say, where are different languages? Why are they there? What happens when they come into contact? And what's the long-term viability of a language? Meaning, what will be lingua francas and what will be dead or extinct languages? I go on to religion, and I'd ask very much the same question. Where are religions? Why are they there? What happens when they come into contact with each other? And then with religion, slightly different than language, how does it alter the cultural landscape? Because we know different faiths have different holy sites. They have different places of worship. Not to say that language can't alter the cultural landscape, because it can, but religion seems to more. Yes?
Can environmental effects count as altering the cultural landscape?
Explain what you mean.
Like Hindus burying their dead.
Burial, the practices of burying or caring for your dead absolutely matter in terms of how they impact the cultural landscape, and they can have environmental ramifications. With Hinduism, there's been issues of resource depletion and then also water quality issues that have arisen. With Christianity, there are space issues because of cemeteries. Some of you guys have maybe been in Washington, D.C. to Arlington National Cemetery. It will be full, they're estimating, a year or two. That's a big deal, because that means that we technically no longer have space to bury our soldiers in the official national cemetery, which is, obviously a big deal for some people. Okay, so then we move on to ethnicity. And ethnicity is very much similar to language and religion. Where are they? And when I say where, remember, so much I am talking about the wheres of the weirdly categorized ethnic groups of the United States. Not to say that international ethnic distribution doesn't matter, but in the United States, we're following kind of those census guidelines. So, white, Hispanic, African American, Asian American, Native American. We ask the where. Then we go to the why there. I have given you guys the why there. I think that I really extensively made that clear. Each group. In second tower today, someone asked a question. They said, do I have to know all of these things? And I said, well, where is this group? And then they gave me a region. And then I said, what city is in that region? They said, this city. And I said, look, you already know it. You do. You have this knowledge. A lot of this connects to Unit 2, to previous demographic and migrational work that we have looked at. What culture has done is it has broadened the picture. It has made us understand that these movements, these groups, it's not just, from 10,000 feet above, little ants. It's the human story. And so the movement, while so oftentimes motivated by economic factors, brings with it our culture. And our culture is huge, and that has ramifications. Sadly, with the ethnicity unit, we recognize that those differences can result in conflict. And conflict is 7.3 and 7.4. It is, why does conflict emerge? It emerges because we treat life like a zero-sum game. It emerges because of prejudice, because of lack of understanding. It emerges because of poorly drawn political borders, which result in centrifugal forces. Now, that was chapters 5, 6, and 7. Chapter 4. What is the basis of chapter 4? It might be called pop and folk culture, but I would argue that's not the basis, and it's not why we did that chapter. We did that chapter because of diffusion. We did it because of the mechanisms of diffusion. So, recognizing folk versus pop, relocation versus hierarchical, contagious, and stimulus. And then taking those and being like, man, you could almost draw a really interesting parallel to like an isolated language in folk culture or to an ethnic religion and folk culture. Meaning that across different cultural elements, diffusion processes can be the same. And what does that mean when compared with Yo MTV? You guys don't watch MTV. What does that mean when compared with TikTok? With the power of viral dissemination of 7,000 ads a day, blasting and causing all of this like centralization or unification of knowledge. What does that mean when considering conflict? When considering the idea of global convergence, all right? That's my overview. Now I want to go into the specific questions and kind of walk through what I would know, all right? And then I'm going to answer questions. Distribution of religion by region. That map. Popular culture and how it diffuses things. Distribution of the branches of religion. Lingua franca, language trees, all the way up. Where do they break? Why do they break? Where do they break again? Why do they break again? What causes the breaks? What's the very tippy tips of the leaves? Dialects, actually, are the very tippy tip tops. Dialects. Language families, isolated languages, language distribution. Isolated language, diffusion of pop versus folk culture. Few questions of that. Why do people in popular culture do things versus why do people in folk culture do things?
People who practice pop culture do it because it's trendy, and people who do folk culture, it's because it's the only thing that they already know. It's a tradition. It's passed down to them.
But it could be more than that, though. Because you wear seal-lined boots in the Arctic, but people wear Ugg boots in Arizona.
Climate.
Could be climate. Could absolutely be influenced by climate, as well as tradition, yes.
Pop culture is more a representation of their economic status rather than environmental.
There we go. And that definitely goes together
Can you
with
repeat
what
that?
we said. But, like, that's a big part of it. Because, yes, popular culture is trendy, but, like, I was a teenager once. It's also tiered, right? Not everybody's rocking their brand new pair of Yeezys like me. They're not Yeezys.
What did Arnold say?
What did Arnold say?
Pop culture is.
You better.
Do I have to?
Wow.
Go ahead and say it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pop culture is a representation of economic status rather than the environment around them.
No.
Okay?
Okay, taboos. What are they? Or maybe some big examples of them. What does homogenization of the cultural landscape mean? What does it mean to homogenize a cultural landscape? I'm asking. Make it the same. How's that happen in the United States?
Golf.
Like lots of chains opening up everywhere, like you find McDonald's in any place.
And why are chains desirable? Good. Why are they successful? Consistent and backed by a transnational corporation. They are powerful. They are very, very powerful. Just because it still gets asked, what is the cultural landscape? Brooklyn?
How our culture modifies the physical landscape.
And, that was perfect, but there's an and, is modified by the physical landscape. Meaning, we shape, but we're also shaped. The person in the Arctic wearing seal-lined boots shapes the cultural landscape when they build a house out of ice. But they're also shaped by the ice, by the necessity to wear seal-lined boots. Does that make sense? Like there's a little bit of a give and take that exists there with it. Toponyms. Diffusion. Diffusion. Why is, go theme this off of you, Andy. In the north end of Boston, there's some of the best Italian restaurants in America. In San Francisco, there's some of the best Chinese American, I know it's not true Chinese food restaurants in America. In Albuquerque, there's some of the best Mexican food restaurants in America. What story of the cultural landscape am I telling?
Migration.
The story of migration and the migrants who shape a place, right? It is it's the story of human geography is what it is. It all plays together. That's it.
Just to clarify, did you say 23 questions?
That's where I'm at right now.
He's just gonna make it 50, like span of a day.
Or honking.
I got a lot of homework that I got to do, so we'll just see.
Keep doing the homework.
Guys, questions? Could be. There are religious toponyms. St. Louis is both a religious and a linguistic toponym. How? Saint for Catholic. Louis for French. Uh-oh, hold on.
Oh.
Other questions?
Since we all showed up today, can we get a test question?
The camera.
What is your name? Yeah, right. What are the last words of your key?
All right. The individual characteristics of a place that make it unique defines which of the following terms most accurate.
Yeah, like slowly.
What are the
The individual characteristics of a place that make it unique defines which of the following terms most accurately.
But what are the terms?
That's an honor code violation.
That's diffusion of pop culture right there.
You check the door, there might be
Characteristics of
Okay, questions.
make it unique device which is the following.
All right, if there's no questions, then I'm going to dismiss you by row.